What's up, everyone? It's DV, and I'm back in Roblox Islands, and it looks like it's winter. It is not winter. Technically, it is, though. Technically, it is because this is part of the seasons. So you can see on the top right, we got winter. So this is the winter look, and yesterday was actually fall. Anyway, the game has actually been getting so many great updates lately, but there's a lot of different items that we've been waiting for in this game for a very, very long time, right? And of course, you already know that I've been playing this game for a long time, right? I've been playing this game for about, geez, the game hasn't not been out a year. It came out in April. So, you know, I started playing, I think, like the 1st of May or so. The game has not been out for a year yet, so we're still like around 11 months. And of course, it's always easy for us to ask for things, right? Because if you think about it, the game devs are always getting asked for new features, right? Everyone's asking for this and that, and at some point, it's a death of 1,000 cuts, right? So it's some small little cuts here and there, and eventually it gets absolutely crazy, and then they got bugs. So one little feature is going to actually require a lot more work than you think. And you also got to take into consideration that they did build this game a certain way, so some things may not be even possible without rewriting huge sections of the code. So I just want to narrow it down to the top 20 things that I think Islands needs today. So these are the things that I think we should have right now, and that would actually make a significant improvement to the game. And some of these are actually really small, some of these are actually big features, and you know, some of them are just kind of the obvious, but I think a lot of you will agree with most of these, but some of them you're not going to agree with, and that's okay. I'd love to actually hear what you think your top 20 things that you would like to see in Islands are, and why you think they would be actually important. So let's go ahead and jump into this, but before I begin, if you could do me a huge favor and hit that like button and smash the subscribe button if you're new, that would be sweet. I make daily Roblox Islands videos, and I'm actually going to be adding a couple more games to the channel pretty soon here that I'm going to be grinding regularly. I will let you know when I decide what those games are, and I'll slowly introduce them so you won't get, you know, shocked. I don't want to shock you. I don't want to shock your system with those games, but I will continue to focus 90% of my content on Islands, so don't worry, I will not be quitting Islands anytime soon. I'm super stoked about this game. Let's go and jump into this. So starting with number 20 is an auto clicker game pass. You might be wondering, DV, why would I ever need a game pass for auto clicking? I've got an auto clicker, right? I've got an auto clicker already. Well, this is only going to benefit Xbox and mobile, especially iPhone users. Now, Android does have an auto clicker, so it's not going to be really that beneficial to Android users. But even then, like, wouldn't it be easier if you could just be like, hey, I'm going to enable an auto clicker? There's actually a lot of Roblox games that do this, and it just makes things so much easier. So can you imagine if you're just kind of running around, all you got to do is move around, and you got an auto clicker that's just going to keep clicking for you, and you're just going to go around and just keeps collecting for you. Right now, mobile players have a huge disadvantage over PC players, because you imagine, like, you know, even iPhone, so like being able to go over here and just pretty much leave your iPhone going, and it just auto collects from here. And by the time you wake up in the morning, your phone's pretty much been going all night, and you now are rich as a mobile player. And the game devs might even say, you know what, why don't we just make that free? I mean, they are that type. A lot of people think the game devs are actually money hungry. Let me tell you, based on my experience, and I know these guys, I mean, I've talked with the devs almost every day, and let me tell you, if they can provide it for free, they will. They're certainly not the types to be money hungry. That's the last thing. Like, I remember I asked them, like, can you make a game pass that allows us to reset our island? And I remember Snicktrix is like, that'd be something. Why don't we just offer that for free? That sounds like a great idea. Why don't we just make that free? And so eventually we got the reset command. And so they're very receptive. You know, I was actually saying you should make that a game pass, and they're like, no, we should make that free because that's useful to everyone. So they might actually do an auto clicker for free if they decide to do it. So who knows? But a game pass would be cool too. I think a lot of people would be willing to pay for the game pass. Now on to number 19 is coal or black stairs and slabs. You know how many stairs I got to use? So I got to use these stairs right here. I would love to be able to have black stairs instead of having to go like, you know, like even right here outside, even back here, being able to have black stairs going all the way up, or even black slabs right here. It'd be so nice to have that. So maybe coal, or even just like black wool stairs or something like that. They might as well just make it so that you can make, you know, coal versions. But the fact that we can't have black stairs is kind of lame. Look, I got to use bricks here, and otherwise you got to use like pine or something. It just doesn't look good. So it'd be actually really cool if we had black stairs. Could you imagine this looking like this? That would look so cool, right? So yeah, we need that. We need that. On to number 18 is actually invisible blocks. You're gonna be like, DB, what do you mean by invisible blocks? What are invisible blocks? How would we ever see them? Well, actually, Piggy's map editor has something called invisible blocks, and that is how you make invisible boundaries. So what if I, as an island creator, wanted to make an invisible barrier so you could not jump off this side? What if I just wanted to make it so you can come to the edge, but you can't actually go outside of this because there's invisible blocks here? Same right here. So you can't actually see it. So imagine, you know, you walk up to this thing and you're like, boom, and you can't get through it. That would actually be really cool. I mean, they can always add like a little bit of a shimmer or something like that. So every now and then it shimmers so you know it's an air block, but we need something that's invisible. That way you can create like these really beautiful looking borders or boundaries where maybe you don't want people to get through. So like, what if you didn't want this to be accessible so you can run into this and you can put a little sign on it? So you have a free floating sign and you go knock and you can't, there's nothing there, right? And how you would handle it is when you're just kind of like this running around, you wouldn't see it, right? So it'd be similar to this, right? So if you click on this, see how it looks like this when you're not with a wire cutter, but as soon as you enable or equip a tool, you can actually see something different visually, right? It actually changes to this. That would be the same case for invisible blocks. So instead, what would happen is they would be completely transparent until you used a tool. While you have the tool like this, you'd actually see maybe like a red outline of a block or just red blocks all over. So then maybe they'd just be like red neon blocks or something like that you can see. And so imagine there'd be tons of invisible walls over here. So that way you can actually also do invisible floors. So you could actually do some really cool puzzles. Like you have to find the invisible floors, but invisible blocks would be actually really cool. And Piggy actually uses them a lot for just different objectives and mini games and stuff. So that'd be really helpful to have something like that. It is not like one of the most killer features of the game, but a lot of us have talked about having invisible or air blocks for a long time now. And I think it'd be really cool. Next up with number 17 are neon blocks. So there's a game called Blockade that actually has neon blocks and they look really cool. They almost like glow. They're really bright looking. So you remember when we used to be able to make neon blocks by using like a bunch of different torches and stuff. And then they toned down the lights so we can't actually get that blinding bright neon look anymore. Well, it's similar to that, right? But the difference is they aren't actually lighting sources. So neon blocks, this is actually a neon block right here. So I'm talking about having a bunch of these. So you can see how this is kind of glowing a little bit. Let me show you an actual neon block here. So it would be something like one of these ancients. So this is actually a neon block right here. This has 0 light source, but you know, you can see there's like actually no light here, right? So I can add a bunch of these and it's not actually increasing the brightness whatsoever, but the neon block itself makes it look like it's a light. But as soon as it goes dark, all you're gonna see is this block right here with a little bit of a bloom effect. So you can see it kind of has like this little glow look, but it doesn't actually light anything up compared to this. This is actually lighting things up. So if I were to take this out, you're gonna see a little bit of a reduction of light, right? See how it just kind of went out? And so that's what we're talking about here. In fact, this both has a neon block and a light source. So we're talking about just being able to do neon blocks. Now, why would we ever want to do neon blocks? Well, neon blocks are super cool visually. Imagine if I wanted to put like red DV eyes somewhere that are glowing, kind of like, you know, maybe like this, but they're glowing. You can't do that without neon blocks. So you can actually do some really cool looking effects and visuals doing neon blocks. Imagine right here, if all I did was red neon, and it looks so cool just running through here and it's like maybe a mix of red and orange neon and stuff. Or if I wanted to make like a rocket or something, I can actually put like cool like orange and yellow neon blocks under it to make it look like, you know, it's basically taking off. Currently, the way you have to do it is you have to, like I said, you got to use these and you got to use a ton of lights. You got to use a ton of lights to get that glow effect to simulate what a neon block does. So it'd be really cool to be able to actually do neon blocks. It would actually brighten things up quite a bit. So you can see this portal has a little bit of a neon effect too. You can see it's kind of coming out there. But yeah, neon would be epic. Neon would be super epic. Actually, there's a bunch of neon blocks over here. Check these out. Those are actually neon blocks. Those are not light sources. So that's what we're talking about, is the ability to have a bunch of neon blocks on your island would make for some really cool looking builds. Next one, number 16, are watermelon seeds. Funny enough, Stranded and a couple other games, I think, Factions actually have watermelon. Now, you know, the challenge is always going to be, how do you prevent, you know, the game from getting unbalanced when you start adding more and more powerful crops? Like if you add a crop that's, you know, maybe 60 coins per cell or something like that. I mean, we already have the seasonal crops and it's kind of cool that they limit things through the seasonal crops. But what if watermelon came around? And I mean, you could even make watermelon like a summer item. So summertime comes around, watermelon. I mean, it doesn't have to be like the most OP crop, you know, there is, but it'd be really cool to have some watermelons and stuff. Just a little bit more variety to crops would be nice. I think watermelon would be sweet, or strawberries. I didn't want to put strawberries because I already got watermelon here, but strawberries are the bomb. That's one of my favorite fruits ever. But then we might have to start have coconut trees, you know. I don't know, maybe not, but I think it'd be cool to have watermelon. What do you think? Next up, with number 15, is an auction house. And we've seen auction houses in SKYBLOCK, but you know, there's also an auction house inside of my restaurant that was actually pretty well executed. But the auction house would actually solve a lot of issues that we currently have in the game. Price guide can still actually live on, just as kind of like a recommended listing price. But imagine if you have an auction house where prices are actually competed against, because right now, you know, there's not really much competition in pricing. So you're going to have some people that are just going to kind of, you know, price whatever they want. But if you actually saw, when you actually went into the auction house, like, you know, if it was a menu like this and you could actually scroll through and see what you wanted, if there was an ability to see what other people are paying for items, it would actually be so much easier for you to transact. Now, a lot of people are not going to like this idea because, you know, that means there's a little bit more accountability and they can't really price things the way they want. So I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of resistance to this idea, because then anyone without a published island could actually sell, which is actually very accessible. But then you have to run into the issue that, you know, well, what about everyone that actually paid 20 bucks to be able to have a published island? That comes another issue, right? So then now it's not fair for everyone else. So do they make make it so that you can only sell in the auction house if you have Pro Pass. But I'm curious, what do you think? What do you think they should do for auctioning items? Do you want the ability to sell items a little easier, no matter who you are, or do you want it to make it so that you can only do so if you publish your island or use a bunch of other tools like Discord and such to be able to get your island code out there? Because currently, as an average user, unless you pay $20 for this pass, you pretty much are not going to be making any much coins, because it is really hard, even for me as someone that, I play this game every day. I pretty much know this game inside and out and how to sell, and I've done tons of noob to pro videos. I know how to sell. I know how to use all the different platforms too. And let me tell you, it is a huge pain to sell unless you are on the Discord or unless you, have a bunch of friends or something, or, well-known network. But otherwise, pretty much you kind of have to have the Pro Pass to make anything in this game, because the only way you can actually make money is you're pretty much going to be selling to published islands. Trying to get your own island out there on the public servers and getting people to join you and buy from your vending machines is just, it's a lot of work. We're talking hours and hours and hours and hours of work. It's not easy. It's really hard. And you got to be out there and you got to promote yourself inside the public channels. It's just a lot of work. It's almost like being a YouTuber. So I actually would say that auction house would fix a lot of that. Maybe the key and answer to the auction house though is that you can't just list unlimited items. Maybe there's a fee or something like that for each item you list, or maybe you can only unlock, maybe it's kind of slot based, so you can unlock one item slot when you're level 30 or 60, and then you continue to level up. Maybe like every 5 levels you level up, you get another auction slot or something like that. That might actually be interesting, and then you can just still have your published islands and sell everything there. Might be curious to see what you think about that though. I know I've kind of drawn this one out, but I'm really curious what you think about the auction house. Next, with number 14 is the ability to power industrial equipment using your electrical. And now, of course, this is not going to work very well with solar. Your machines are basically going to shut off at night. We're going to cover that in a little bit. But imagine if you could actually use some kind of power generator that feeds this. Because look what's going right here. I actually messed up on this. When did I put that back? I put my smelter back on wrong. Oops. But imagine if you could just power this. Like, you bring your little wire over here and you just click it and you power your smelter. You can pretty much power everything without these coal. The nice thing about that is you reduce waste. Look at all this coal. This is actually creating despawn for me. So the ability to power this with some kind of battery would be huge, right? Because look at all this coal over here too. This creates despawn. It's not efficient. It gets stuck, and sometimes it creates bugs for people where their machines stop working. So imagine if, look at all the coal in here. There's more coal sitting here. There's just coal everywhere. It's just wasted. And so if I could actually afford to pay for like some kind of extra power generator or source, then that would be sweet, because then I could just power all of my machines with one power, or multiple powers, or split it or combine it, depending on what I want to do. Next, with number 13 is the ability to make more potions. Wouldn't it be cool to actually be able to turn invisible for a moment? So like maybe a 30-second, power up that you can actually be invisible, where you could sneak by mobs, maybe troll some friends. So imagine being able to go to your brewing station and crafting some new potions, like speed potions. I think they had, like, for a while there, didn't they have like a resistance potion for a bit? But having more potions would actually be really cool, because right now we only have 2 potions plus the formula 86, which, I think everyone wants more potions. I think it'd be cool. Next up with number 12 is actually mob spawners. So Stranded is another game that's similar to Islands in some ways, and they actually have mob spawners, and it's really cool that you can actually farm, for different things. So instead of going all the way out to Slime Island, you could actually go and create a mob spawner on your own island. Here's why I want a mob spawner. It's not because I just want to be able to, harvest like these mobs over and over and over and get endless supplies of sticky gears. I'm not talking about that. My reason is more for troll. My reason is more for trollage, plus XP, plus a little bit of the slimes, because you can actually get slime balls and stuff. But imagine if it's only a green slime spawner. So instead of like all of these, and that way you can't actually get pink sticky gears or blue sticky gears. You still have to come out here, because we don't want to like make this extinct, like kind of pointless to come out here. If you add a mob spawner to your own island and it has the ability to do pinks and blues, then you're never coming out here again. So, I would say if it had the ability to, spawn green slimes or something, what's cool about that is then you can actually create these areas that actually have mobs to not only troll your friends, so you can actually trap them in there and mess with them and stuff, kind of like the spider spawners inside SKYBLOCK, but you can also farm them for XP, which would be really cool. So you can actually create auto farms for XP. That would actually be really neat. Now, would the game team actually consider that? I don't think they would, because it would be kind of it's kind of unbalanced. It's going to cause issues where people are going to get too fast on XP, but they could actually reduce the XP to be similar to a lot of these, where it's just like maybe 1 or 2 XP PvP per kill or something if it's on your island. There's a lot of ways to get around that. But yeah, I mean, a mob spawner would be really cool because then you can actually have mobs on your own island, which would just make the game feel very, very different. And I think it would be kind of cool. Next up is number 11 with lava blocks. So the ability to have lava blocks would be huge because with lava blocks, you can create these kind of glowing parts that cause damage to you, right? So very similar to neon. Now, this would actually cause a case for never having neon blocks because if they have planned for neon blocks to be used for different effects like, you know, lava or maybe like a really like enchanted blocks or something like that, then they may not want to ever do this. But imagine if I created like a lava like lake and stuff over here. I think that would look really cool if it was glowing like orange and could actually cause you damage. And I'm not talking about like teleporting you back to your island damage. I'm talking about like actually kill your character. Or if that's actually going to cause a lot of lag for the game, maybe it does only teleport you back to somewhere else. But here's the cool thing. You can actually use those lava blocks for obbies. So imagine you have an obby on your island and you want to be able to teleport back and you want to make it so that if someone goes the wrong way or they drop inside your obby, they actually go back to your island. Currently, we have to use the void, right? So if you're on someone's island doing like an obby, then chances are if you fall, you're pretty much going to the void. You can't create these like really cool indoor obbies where, you know, it restarts them to the start, right? You have to actually like do the void. And the other thing you can use it for like little shortcuts for flags. So if you have the starter flag or the obby flag, we use obby flags for so many great things for getting around your environment or island that why wouldn't we actually have lava blocks? That'd be super cool. Next up is number 10 with PvP enabling on your island. So imagine you can come over here where there's the little permissions, right? The little permissions lock, and you can actually enable permissions on and off for people. And so imagine if you wanted to have like a really cool like little gladiator arena on your island and you did like a little competition, or maybe you wanted to do a 1v1 with someone. So you all get your like rage blades out or something like that and have a little mini PvP experience on your own island. So you can pretty much toggle permissions on and off for PvP for people, and only a couple of people can actually kill, and then everyone else can't. It would be really cool to be able to toggle PvP on and off, because then we can actually make these like little mini game experiences like Among Us. I could actually host like a round of Among Us and on my island, and I could go like this and say, okay, I'm randomly choosing the killer, and I click and only I know who they are, but they can go around and kill everyone if they wanted to, and then I can actually let people vote other people off. So we can actually create like really cool mini games, murder mystery style games, or even just like a whole PvP chaos arena. So last man standing type stuff. You can do all kinds of little mini games with PvP just on your own island. But the ability to have that toggle would be cool. Then the game team wouldn't actually have to create like a PvP island for us. It would be just a neat way for us to be able to experience PvP while we wait for the actual real thing, Next up with number 9 is actually incredibly important. It's not an exciting feature. It's not at all an exciting feature. But as someone that has actually trolled a lot of scammers, I'm very, very familiar with the scammers and what their ploys are, all their strategies, and how dangerous it is for new players. And a lot of new players get scammed simply because they don't know better. I mean, I've watched them. And now, granted, a lot of them actually just trust people and would probably bypass any warnings they see. But some people don't realize that, especially a new player that's been, grinding for a bit, that first moment that they go and click on that and then turn on permissions, build permissions for someone, they learn the hard lesson very quickly after all of their stuff is stolen, right? And that's unfortunate because now they're going to quit the game because they're just, they're completely demoralized, and they just spent, the last week grinding for this game. They got excited about islands, and the next experience they have is they got scammed and they lost everything. They got to start over, right? It's horrible. It's a horrible feeling to get scammed. And so they quit the game. And you know what? As a YouTuber for Islands, I actually don't want them quitting the game. Not only does it make it so that they're no longer going to be interested in my content because they got scammed, which, from my standpoint, that doesn't help me at all, right? Because you're quitting the game because you got scammed. But, it doesn't help the player. They didn't have a good experience in Islands. And that's unfortunate for the game team too. So all I would like to see is the ability, like when you toggle permissions, to give someone build permissions, that it warns you before you do it. And it just warns you and says, you're about to give permissions to this person to your island and they can pretty much take anything they want. You can get scammed. Beware, we can't help you basically if you do this. And that is pretty much, I think there's a lot of games that actually warn you, like this trade is about to be finalized. It cannot be reversed afterwards. And that's a similar thing, right? You're essentially giving someone your entire island. The reality is, as soon as you click that little button, it's pretty significant. You gave them full permissions to take everything from your island except whatever's in your inventory. I mean, that's significant, right? Why would we have such a simple button if you're basically handing the keys over to your entire property for them to take whatever they want. And you may not even know them. They might even be a friend and you don't realize that they could take whatever they want. So as soon as they break something, it's theirs. So a simple little prompt. I mean, it's super important. Next with number 8 is the ability to change or reset your code. So right here, you can see I've got this code. Everyone in Islands pretty much that has seen my videos have my code. They have access to my code. So this is why I don't generally play on public, because any second now someone can actually join my island. And it's really rough, right? Because I'm over here and I guarantee you if I were to stay here for about 5 minutes, they're just going to pop in. They're just going to like teleport in and boom, they're here. So the ability to reset that code would be huge. Currently, you have no privacy if someone knows where you're at. And so it's especially hard if you're, you know, a public player. Maybe you don't really like playing on VIP servers. And then you have all these randoms like joining your server. You know, so the ability to reset that would be huge. So I could just go and like click on this, add another level of difficulty. If I were to go to the permissions thing and actually try to kick them, I couldn't, right? So a great example is I've got my alt here, right? So you can see Cryiron King. There looks like some other people are trying to connect as well that just know my code. But you see Cryiron King. So if I want to kick him, sometimes it works. So like if I go here, sometimes this works, right? And other times it doesn't. So for some reason, there's some kind of bug that will actually occur. And I think it might be, I don't know if it's like if there's more than one character or one player in the server. But if I do this, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Right now it's working, but sometimes it doesn't. So the ability to actually permanently kick them or ban them, ideally ban them if we can, so that they, or block them so you can't actually join here. So they can just keep tormenting you over and over like this. Now you're gonna be like, well, DV, can't you just use a VIP server? Well, the problem is mobile support for VIPs is not really there. So you can't really use VIPs very well. A lot of people are gonna be like, well, you know, I can't actually connect to you because I'm a mobile. Now you gotta add me, now you gotta whitelist me. And here comes the scams, here comes the issues, right? Having to add people and remove them and whitelist them. And then, you know, when you try to whitelist someone, you can't because they need to have the right permissions, you know, for their for you being able to whitelist them. So there's all kinds of issues here, right? It creates so much complexity when you're trying to manage your permissions. Now the game didn't actually have this issue back before the revamp. You know, before you would actually have, you'd join a public server, everyone's islands were pretty much on the same server. You can, you know, go to this player list and you see everyone that's on the current server that you're on, and you can add and remove. Now they did away with that to be able to support higher block limits, right? Because everyone kept asking, please give us more higher, you know, please increase the block limits. And the only way they could do that was through this optimization and server revamp. So how do you get around this? If I wanted to change my join code, you know, I could just keep changing my join code and the people that I just kicked can no longer join because that code doesn't work anymore. My main issue is we really need that bug fixed because sometimes you can't kick people. Next up with number 6 is the ability to have 24-hour power, because currently you have solar power and you have coal generators and then you got a bug. There's actually an exploit right now. So obviously you got this guy here and then you got coal generators, right? So you can use coal. And then of course there's the exploited version where you can actually create an infinite battery. That's actually a bug that probably still needs to get fixed. So, you know, currently I guess you can use that if you really wanted 24-hour power, but right now there's no such thing as a 24-hour power that's simple. Right now you got to do the weird wiring loop to be able to get like infinite power, which I don't want to show because it's just going to get patched. So by the time I actually show it, then everyone's going to be mad that it doesn't work anymore. And I actually think we shouldn't actually have to exploit in the game to get something to work. It should just work, right? So I think we need 24-hour power really bad. I think it'd be a killer for the game because then we can actually use power in the game. A lot of people are going to be more inclined to use, you know, lights at night and stuff, because that's the thing is lights, the LED lights are the coolest at night. So why would we care about them, you know, during the day when you can barely see them while the sun is out? Whereas at night, man, can you imagine if it's just lit up and stuff? Now, of course, the downside is you can only have a certain number of power sources, so that's a bummer, but you know, it'd be cool to actually have the ability to have 24-hour power. Next up with number 5 is we need something to do with this gearbox. This gearbox is still useless, dude. So we were supposed to get factory part 2, remember? And we never did. We never got factory part 2. We need factory part 2. Imagine if we can actually do something with that gearbox. That'd be super cool. We need some use for that gearbox because I've been saving onto a bunch of them and I got rid of them actually. I think I sold them all. Yeah, I sold all of mine. And of course, number 4 is one of the most obvious. Imagine a day where you can actually auto cut trees. Imagine you can actually auto cut trees and create wood. So you can actually create a true auto farm for wood. That would be absolutely killer because wood is actually one of the huge bottlenecks of the game. It's actually overpriced. So a lot of people are making money off of wood because there's no way to auto cut it, right? So the ability to auto cut and auto farm wood and allow us to be lazy with wood would be huge. You know, we could actually sit back and relax and watch our stuff automatically get cut. And I actually had an idea I posted and shared a while back, having some kind of mechanical auto cutter or something like that. Maybe that's that's what we could actually use the Gearbox for, you know, is for auto cutting trees or something like that. So curious if that's what's going to actually happen. Who knows? That'd be really cool if they could. But, you know, having the ability to auto cut trees would be huge. And next up with number 3 is more bosses like Core. I actually already spawned them. And the Slime King would actually be another great example, but I like Core because Core was cool. Core is actually super cool. He's a new boss. You know, Slime King was kind of, you know, expected, you know, but Core is actually really cool because we have unique content, right? So we have the ability to spawn something really cool and get some really awesome items. So this update actually lasted about 3 weeks for most of us. You know, we got really excited for 3 weeks. So having more bosses like this could be huge, especially if there's a way to cycle, you know, items out every now and then. So to freshen it up so that, you know, there's maybe purpose to come back to Core. Maybe he has a chance to drop something else. It would actually be pretty cool. And of course, the ability to have mob invaders. So imagine one day you're just kind of trucking along, doing stuff, maybe meteors flying down or something like that, revealing like these like molten lava, like little creatures that you can go and attack and defend your island from. And they have a chance to drop you some really cool loot. Imagine you could get like maybe some kind of magma, crystallized magma rock or something like that is worth a ton of coins. And it's a really rare drop. Maybe it's a skeleton or something and you go and kill it and it drops you some really cool items. Imagine that. Imagine being able to have mobs on your island. And if you don't want that to happen, you have automated defenses or guards or robots. I still think we need robots. Something that can actually help you defend your island automatically for you, minus the loot. So maybe you won't get the loot unless you kill it yourself, but you could actually have guards patrolling your island, or you can actually have an upgrade to your bees. Maybe you make, you know, army bees or guardian bees that actually do protect your island. So there's a lot of different approaches they could actually take with invading mobs, but I think the ability to actually make this Rage Blade useful on my island would be super cool. Or maybe there's like a little countdown. Maybe there's a little countdown to the next invasion. And if you don't want to be a part of it, you just kind of, you know, click, no, skip, no, protection mode. I don't want it, you know, maybe it's an opt-out. But if you want to actually be attacked and be able to defend, you could. So again, there's lots of different approaches they can actually take with invasions. Finally, number 1, finally, the most important and most valuable thing that I think we all want. And if you don't want it, why not? I think you should, which is the ability to load and save your islands. Right now, I actually want to reset my island, and I have a reason I want to do it. It's not because I'm unhappy with my island. It's because I have so many great ideas for islands that I can't handle it. I can't handle it. I got to create alts to be able to make new builds. And that's really frustrating as this is my main account. And I like to build on my main account because all my inventory is on this account already, right? Because I have all this stuff that's in my inventory and I want to be able to use this instead of having to manage 2 different inventories, 2 different sets of tools, 2 different, you know, there's, and then I got to log out of this account. And then I got to go through like, you know, the nightmare of, you know, Roblox captchas to be able to log into my other account. And then I've got to transfer all my items. So I have a ton of wood on this account. So now I got to transfer chests to my other account to build. Every builder in Islands has gone through this pain. And I'm just wanting to save that. I would rather just have the ability to, you know, load islands. Now, and there's a lot of games that do this already, but imagine if you could actually save this island, load a new one. Maybe you buy more slots or you earn more slots, the ability to go and create new stuff. Because maybe this is just my visually beautiful island. And then I farm on a different island completely. So an example would be you no longer have to have steel mills on this farm. You no longer have to have a farm that looks like this on this island. I could actually have an island that's just my home that I hang out on and sell on. And then I could have an island that's just like my factory island. And so I just set up all my factories on the factory island, or I could set up a food island where I actually do all my cooking and stuff on that island. I could set up a, you know, troll island where I just mess around, or a mini or a spleef island. I could have an island just full of spleef, you know, stuff like it's just glass and stuff, host mini games on it. I can load and save all kinds of islands and have so much more fun in this game if I didn't have to keep adding it on to this one. So the ability to have different islands would be huge. So what do you think about this list? I'm curious what you think islands should add to the game. And I'm not talking about like those little tiny feature requests here and there. Like, yeah, I too would love the ability to turn on and off night cycles. I too would love to have the ability to fly around my island and be able to get to hard, you know, get to hard places. I would too would love to be able to have a teleporter. I'd love to have all those features, but this is my top 20. What is your top 20? I'm curious. Or even your top 5. Let me know what your top 5 is in the comments below. I would love to know, and I will try to read each and every one of your comments. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like button and smash the subscribe button if you're new as always. I will see you all in tomorrow's video. Peace.